see the storm.
I hear the rolling thunder.
I hear the rolling thunder.
Thy power throughout.
Thy power throughout.
The universe displayed.
Universe displayed.
Then sings my soul.
Then sings my soul, my Savior to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! Then sings my soul, my Savior to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art!
When Christ shall come,
When Christ shall come,
we shout with acclamation.
with shout of acclamation,
And take me home.
and take me home.
What joy shall fill my mind.
Joy shall fill my heart.
Then I shall bow
Then I shall
in humble adoration.
in humble adoration,
And then proclaim.
and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art.
Then sings my soul.
Then sings my soul, my Savior to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art!
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
This is the love we have for thee, from the united ever we stand, singing thy praise, O native land. We raise up our hands and our voices on high, the hills and the valleys we echo and cry. Blessing and peace be ever thine own, landless we love our Sierra Leone.
My feeling then was that if you're talking Ebola, we are thinking of something in Zaire somewhere, East Africa. It's not the kind of thing we thought about as people in West Africa, much less Sierra Leone. And so when subsequently I heard of 150 people dead on one of the border with Guinea, sometime around, I think, June, July it was, you can imagine the kind of shock which some of us went into. Now, there is no doubt indeed that the current Ebola crisis is the biggest threat that Sierra Leone has ever faced, and it is, whether we like it or not, redefining our development goals. What we are able to achieve as a nation, whether it be in education, infrastructure, infrastructural development, energy, water supply and sanitation, our very subsistence, our very survival, and even our food production is affected by this. Virtually everything. If Ebola is that important, therefore, we should certainly be talking more about it, planning and seeking as much help as possible from those who would wish us well and those who would wish to help us. The old adage goes that charity begins at home. So in many ways, this afternoon is just a throwback to that adage in that we must find and begin the discussion amongst ourselves, with our own people and with our own particular leaders. Now, in as much as I say that, one of the things that has probably affected us the most is that Sierra Leone has been helped quite a lot over for the tenure of the Ebola crisis. And that has come from others outside. But you know, at the bank, we are project-oriented. And one of the things we always ask for is that if you come with a project, the bank would always ask you for your 10% equity or 20% contribution from the country. And so in many ways today, we're going to see a bit of our own 10 or 20% build into the 100% of the help that we've been having and to look forward. I would suggest that to start a conversation, there are certain essential elements for this. And probably the key is leadership. Leadership that is forward-looking, leadership that is innovative, but above all, leadership that is honest, proud and modest at the same time. Indeed, that would come from us finding the opportunity to get those resources, redefining our goals, and moving forward positively as a nation. Indeed, even before Ebola, Sierra Leone already struggled. Mr. PM probably alluded to that a little bit earlier, whether it be water, electricity, and basic services. In 2013, December of 2013, I visited Sierra Leone, and as I was standing at the Pelican, there's a gentleman who was also visiting at the same time, standing right on my left side, on my left. And we immediately launched into a conversation about the ferry services and what he thought about it. That gentleman is sitting right here in the room, and it was quite an interesting conversation. When he comes to speak, you will see what I mean. Our conversation encompassed all kinds of things, and it is no surprise. My very first encounter with him was in Tunisia, soon after being elected as the head of UNIDO. The conversation was frank, insightful, and most important, it was honest. And this is very important. Leadership itself is not an issue in Sierra Leone. One of the things that we always say is that, you know, when you arrive at Lungei Airport, many people have said before that they are leaders. You know, Sierra Leoneans, you find them everywhere. You find them in the biggest offices in New York, whether it be for a multilateral development bank somewhere, or whether it be in Geneva. Anywhere in the world, you'll find us. And we are quite wonderful people at the way we lead. The Chief Justice of Botswana was for some years a Sierra Leonean, just to give you one example. And so what tends to happen is when people actually arrive in Freetown, they look around what they see, and then they turn to their fellows and said, oh, is this where John comes from? You mean John the Silent in the big office in New York? No, take me back, you've got it wrong. And so leadership is not a problem for Sierra Leoneans. Indeed, of our speaker this afternoon, President Baikoroma said the other day, and I quote, if we are here, we have to start by extending our gratitude to UNIDO. It was a team of engineers from UNIDO led by Dr. Yumkella that brought it to our attention that we can use our river at Bankasoka to generate energy to supply Putloko district. Today, we are happy and proud that UNIDO is being represented here at the highest level, comprising of the Director General, who is our own son and brother. That was some years back. Ladies and gentlemen, the speaker today is no other person than Dr. Yumkella. Dr. Kandeh Yumkella, I'm proud to say, is an alumni of the same institution I went to, the Njala University College. It's amazing how many of us who went there have traversed and changed our professions. I did general agriculture myself and ended up being a financial economist some years after. And so it's quite interesting. He himself did general agriculture, and here he is standing as UN energy expert.
Ebola is almost for us like what the war did to our country. Ebola devastated our country. There's no joke about it, yeah? The trauma in people's minds. Imagine we 3,000 or past 3,000 people die In some side, then 100, 200, 300. You can imagine the fear way they pan people. But we look the number of people we infected. You know, as of this June, 13,000. 13,000 in our country. But not all we first get our. But now we get more number past all man. You know, think about that for a minute. I have been to Sierra Leone 3 times, 3 in October, in March, and then in April. Actually, in October, in April, and in May. Since Ebola started, I'm back there now. So I don't go there full time since Ebola B. So some of what they say not to then say business because I go there. I go Kenema, I go Cambia, go Bo, go na Hastings, na the Ebola treatment center just for see, and there with the people, I talk to the Chamber of Commerce. Very serious. But you have to put all of this in context. This Ebola outbreak in the Mano River Union is the biggest and longest the world has ever seen in 40 years. It's the worst we've ever seen. So for Sierra Leoneans and the Mano River Union people, for us in the international community, we never ever seen things like this before. So everybody's shocked. So it is true that when it begin, we don't know what for do. The countries, they don't know what for do. The international community is shocked because the number too big. Where they be na Uganda, Zaire, and the other side, na 200, 100. Imagine, first of all, na 3 countries at the same time. Then you begin get thousands of people that we don't know what for do. But so, indeed, a good way, Mr. Pierre say, let we pray for them one. We begin mine. Ebola, we find out, initially we all begin make like say, na common sense they mean. Yeah? Na common sense. Because a long man sometimes they can do that. When something we just talk. We know the thing say, you need expertise, you need education, you need professional that for deal with this. So we begin first, we say, but this is not just anything that we just can go to Moriman. People begin that. For let we able to deal with Ebola, what we be careful to? The international community get for cancer. The Americans, they get for sending 3,000 troops. The British, they're 750 troops with doctors and nurses. They get for use knowledge, logistics management, science, for begin get the number they correct. Why are they saying this? Salomon Sultan and then we take book with throw and force. We say na common sense. Anything I can do. We no one recognize it. Look, you they learn for reason. Professionalism, then they make country they go before. Then with man they go with the colepa. Then they learn book. And everything where they do systematic. That's why they can save we back. So when we they go before now, for recover, for change the country, of course education get for matter. Of course book get for matter. I mean if book no matter, why they put you picking in school? Why some of we run away with the out to go for good education? And they say this because as we they talk today, some man in that country, na book safe in our area, but this na book business. You know they change country if you don't get professionals. You know they change countries if you know professional, you self. If you self where they lead, you not take professionalism serious. Put the right people in the place, the country they go be here, we all they suffer. So that's a second lesson. For let we able to deal with Ebola, wait man, they all been here for camp. They get for send soldier, they all. For manage logistics, how for supply people, how for build the tent there, how for test people. Now sense and book make that they work, not to common sense now. Second lesson. Third lesson, why I believe so we for learn from this. You know, you can go to some people can begin to say, international people no matter, na lie. When the war finish with, now the same United Nations, African Development Bank, World Bank, now they all been there for come back for build that nation. Where Ebola hit, we would have been there for come back, not to them. Since Ebola happened, the international community had to raise over $3 billion within 1 year. $3 billion to come in quickly and solve that problem. So that's international solidarity. You can never, never underestimate it if you're a poor country. I hear people saying today, even about myself, it doesn't matter if you worked in the UN. Allah, it matters. It matters. It matters that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came from the UN. That she was able to mobilize quickly. Of course it matters. You don't just kick it aside. When you're in trouble, you call the UN again. Tijan Kaba was able to rebuild that nation because of international solidarity. You can't underestimate it today. You cannot. You can try to diminish it, but of course it is important, and we will never be apologetic for it, because that's what saved us in Ebola. We fast forward. The economic impact. Not to say no more Boku knows them die. Now Mano River Union, 5 million people no able to go to school for 1 year. You know what that means? Imagine you were sitting on here. You begin and then a house, they know they go to school. Boku begin and get belay. Some man don't want to go to school again. They don't lose the interest. How you go educate that money in back? So they try to tell us saying a serious problem there we get. It just started like with the war being done. Now that make the government need we all for help. Now that make with people that need we all for help. Because you see Ebola, it will always come back. Now Congo, it can 70. Uganda about 40. Sudan inside the way. But remember, the Ebola we meet with a pass waiting then don't see for 40 years. Now we see 1 year. 13,000 people infected. Let we pray God let it not come back. But you know they pray no more. You for ready for it. Now that make this session go on organize post-Ebola recovery. Waiting we get for you. For saying if he come back, we're ready for it. Because when I not forget Congo, they come back, but then they arrest them. You know they ever affect 1,000 people one time. Why? Because they land. They see say each day can this they do so now they do this again. They learn from the weight people there how to deal with that. Uganda, the Ugandans they will tell you. As they hear say Ebola then at that location. In a few hours, the soldier they don't reach, the doctor they don't reach, they don't control the area once you know they spread. Question for we in Salon, we don't learn, we don't go beyond common sense, we don't really learn all the ways man we can help with. We really see don't take time for learn from them, say this, if you come back with the arrest them, all the money they will give we don't use them well, for make sure say, when Ebola come back we ready, it's very important. So I go shift quickly, so people die, people suffer, people cannot go to school, Boku nurses and doctors die. The hospital, they of course wrecked. When I go there back in May, the UN and they show me the numbers. All the disease that we've been in another country, all don't go up. Why? People been afraid for going to hospital. TB go up. Then people they're not being do immunization. People then woman they waving they go to hospital for go born. So stay in a house. UNDP they get the numbers and UNFPA. So Boku people been believe are picking and now in a house, but already before Ebola, we had the highest, one of the highest maternal mortality rates. 2 years ago, the Guardian newspaper in London, they write article, they say Salon are the worst place for born picking. Because when women they born picking, they die there. The picking themselves, they die before they're 5 years old. The worst place, so we get the highest maternal mortality rate, one of the highest infant mortality rate. So that before Ebola. UN can show you the number now. Since Ebola, all things don't go up. So you can see the problem where we get now, how to rebuild this country. With all of these other infections and other health problems going on, how do we rebuild this nation? But the economic impacts are also serious, and that's where I want to end. And I'll show you a few slides. The economic impacts are very serious. And let's put up a few slides for you. These are numbers as of May 5th. As I said, these numbers are different. You know, by May 5th, almost 26,000 infections. You can see the distribution, 12,000 in Sierra Leone. As I say now, this is about 13,000 infections. Look at the number of deaths. Yeah, very high. Next slide. This was a month ago. I was in Philadelphia. I arrived on Thursday. Friday in the morning, I was going to the restaurant, and there was a Wall Street Journal article on Ebola. Of course, the stories were about Liberia and Sierra Leone. But just to say, even the international, this is just a few weeks ago, and they call it the long shadow of Ebola. Next slide, please. Economic impacts. Yeah? These are the losses from the 3 different countries as a result of Ebola. What happened to those economies in just 1 year? These are the latest numbers I got from the World Bank. Yeah? Almost 2.2 billion in losses. But who lost the most money? It is not only because of Ebola, but also because iron ore prices dropped. But you combine that, but it dropped in the middle of Ebola. And of course, our 2 largest revenue earners went bankrupt. Again, you sit and it begs the question. We got it last. Why are our infection rates the highest? Why is it that the economic impact is worse with us? Liberia also has iron ore mines. How come they did not go bankrupt? Why ours? These are fundamental policy questions you should be thinking about. The war, the rebellion started in Liberia. It came several years later to us. Why did we get more cotton to we? Why was it more brutal in Sierra Leone? How come any bad thing gets fertile ground there? These are fundamental moral and values questions we ask ourselves. This is not a government no more. You the ordinary Salomon, you for ask yourself, why waiting bad it can't we eat it worse? Not a government no more. Let we ask we self, let we correct we self. Something they were not right. Something they were not right. Not a government no more, they make things change. Look their number here. This is not on my own. This is in a World Bank last month. Next slide. We lost a lot of cash. Growth rates. Before Ebola, we were growing very fast. In fact, there were publications that we were the fastest growing economy in the world. One time they said we grew at 32%, but 3 years ago, very fast. Okay, Ebola came, wow. Growth rates declined, but this is the number that you should watch. The projection is that we may shrink 23%. Again, all the three countries will shrink. Why are we shrinking the most? The World Bank says, the quotation I have, that of course Ebola and the drop in iron ore prices were important, but also issues related to corporate governance. This is not what me saying. This is what the bank, I'm sure you have the same reports in the ADB. Fundamental issues about sector governance. Fundamental issues about public policy. So this is not about any criticism. It is just for us to think that if we are going to recover, if we are going to grow fast again, certain things must change. It cannot be business as usual. Einstein used to say, you cannot solve a problem if you use the same consciousness and thinking that creating a problem. You therefore think differently if you want to solve a problem. If you want to transform, you must think different. Transformation is different from managing something. Because you know Salomon quickly said they manage. And they manage, they keep you outside there or it make you worse. If you want for better, like this Côte d'Ivoire we see, so then say not in get war. Then we get war no so. When I see them bridge with them, this country not begin grow back. So not to we no more begin get problem. For let you grow. I mean, okay, I come to another thing. President Ouattara enjoys a lot of goodwill internationally because of his background as well. What he did, IMF, and where he came from. So the international community is here. The investors are coming because why? They know he's a solid economist. They know his agenda. They're coming big time. That's why I'm here. We're doing something big for him on Tuesday. Bringing billionaires and others to invest in energy here. Because it is Ouattara. His vision is clear. His economic standing is known. He's the IMF. You don't underestimate those things. Because people then have confidence in what you're doing. So those things matter. But the point is, to regain this, we have a lot of work. Next slide. The country say they need over 1 billion for rebuild that country in 2 years. This is not about money. What's in our GDP now? It's about 2 billion. ADB. How about that? Yeah. We say we need 1 billion in 2 years to rebuild that country. We will put $500 million in hospitals, healthcare systems, surveillance systems. You should care about it. Ura como kene mana, ura como kailam, ura como kono, Cambia, free on the inside this room. They're all there. You for care about this number. If the international community say, fine, we're sorry for it, we will give $500 million now, una Salon people, for the next 2 years. But to God, if you can come out, you want new hospital, no. So this money plenty. If you come out, but you forget new hospital. You not forget 50 ambulances. You know most doctors they say we need for 6 million people, 1,200. We get 350. But to God, we forget plenty doctor and nurse there and also. So you must care what happens with this money. You must. You must care. Because this is a gift to you, the people. You must care who they gave that money to. to spend in your country to make sure Ebola doesn't come back. To spend in that country to make sure when you go on holidays with your kids, there's a hospital to go to. To make sure if, God forbid, you get emergency, you go to a hospital for say oxygen did it. Now that make with man and the people that were sorry for it, give you this money. So you must care. Whether an international organization they give that money, whether an NGO, whether you uncle, you for care what you do with that money, because now for the people. Now for the people, for build hospital, for build clinics, for build surveillance center, for train mourners, you for care about that money. This is why I show these numbers. Because these are very new. We'll be presenting them at the UN. So you for care. Ebola recovery means we need all of you. Una for volunteer for help una government. For say yes, if me and nurse or doctor are ready for go day 1 week for train people. So that when Ebola come back, we're ready for arrest them. But you know, Mr. Government, Mr. Other people, and myself, I want to know how that money is spent now. Una ask them ADD people, do you how much money una they give the country now? How much for water? How much for hospital? And do you one know that they get the contract? We know they wait again for audit. No, so I want to know if they give 50 million. So God, I want to know that they get that 50 million this time. I want to know if you've been supposed to build hospital. Me as a citizen, I want to know. This is not about government. This is about you. The next Ebola can take your mother away. The next Ebola can take your sister or brother. You must care what happens to that. We, the international community, are giving that solidarity for the people and for the country. Finally, they say a country gets the leadership they deserve. If you don't participate in political action to care about who will lead, who leads you, if they choose the wrong people, you suffer too. Yeah, then you go stay in here for a long time. Well, I'm sure say when you retire, you want to go pension home. I'm sure say you go holiday home. You want to think better. So you must be political. You must care about your leadership. If you say me not a politician, no one know, fine. They one way one know, they go pick for you. When they pick the wrong person, when you say don't help them, because you allow them to pick the wrong person. No, so you know go vex if Kono not develop. Well, you not be pick the right person for Kono. You not be care if Kono get money or you not get. You not go care if Kandeh gets or not. Because you not be one at the leadership. So this is my point to all of you. We must all care. Ultimately, it is about self-help. Ultimately, country first. You community first. Then you self. When we say that in some place, some people say, I'm not serious. Of course I'm serious. Of course I'm serious. If me they think about my own pocket no more, all man think about their pocket, better go there. If we all share that one day, better go there in the country. We for build the hospital there. We for buy the ambulance there. We for build the road there. Clean water for there. If not to that way Ebola come back, we all go suffer. Waiting you don't do for yourself and other people. When make up for belief say you able to do this. Because anybody can promise you anything. Now that make with man, when you go for job application, you show your degree, he say fine, show me relevant experience. Show me a track record of delivery and service. So even at the ordinary man in the community, we don't preach the tribalism, you say ask her now. Say, well, you are telling about what you don't do so far, what you don't do for the community, what you do for your school. Then I know say you will help me. Otherwise, I'm talking about you. So that's an example we all get from it. So two more them better. Time to continue time. One.
How do we complain? How do we tell the authorities we are not happy with them? I want to share this as an experience I've heard personally. Today, by God's grace, we have what we call the IT, information technology. We have these free media groups, the Facebook thing, and all the rest of that. We are talking about Ebola. We are also concerned about our leadership. We are concerned about a number of problems that we have. How do we communicate to these people? How do we tell them we are not happy? How do we tell them you are doing this wrong? How do we get to know that what we feel, they also answer us? Because it's enough we talk. We have these sort of meetings. But when the message doesn't go home, when we don't see the reactions. Today, Abidjan, for instance, all of us are here. We know you can, as a poor citizen, even as a foreigner, I'm a Sierra Leonean, you can go out there and talk to the media, you can talk to the police people, you can talk to the authorities, you can communicate. But I don't think this happens in Sierra Leone. Let us talk about that, sir.
You can speak freely today. You can create your own website. You can go on that Sunday, nobody know they arrest you. Now $100 for 1 hour on radio. You don't know that? I don't do it. Then community radio, they get Bokuna 2030. Go express your opinion on your community. Come here, will get you. Think you go get. Now as a free citizen, you get the right to educate your people in the right way. Go on a radio, you set up. Nobody not supposed to touch you. But if they touch you, we will ask questions too. We'll not get freedom? Of course we get. So me, they say you get the power, exercise. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for also the good question. To ensure that freedom you exercise. Begin to educate your people now to question. Begin to all kinds of questions, even for aspirants. Very blunt, very clear. It's not only the top leadership, my brother. One man does not change a nation. He can give direction. He can mobilize, but it's the team. Everybody else down the chain has to do their role. So you must now, you have a long time. 3 years is a lot of time to organize. Of course, what do we see now? People misusing social media too. Our culture now is beginning to sit into social media. We don't use for cause. So the social media we others than they use for life. Arab Spring and other things. We they use them for cause. We want to show that's a because massive company. We want to show that what's going on the way where. Not to that Arab man use them for. Not to that white man they use them for. Then they use them for give good information about development, for fed information about accountability, for new direction. What do we don't begin use them for? Of course. That one they don't get anything for doing the IT. They don't get anything for even doing the leadership. It has to do with us. So now I say some of we when they question, we for also question we self-own values. What do me self stand for me as a person? If I don't stand for
the very area we signed the Wars Act. And at the very area again we signed Ebola Commot. We don't have a lot of things from which we don't talk. But there are certain things where the honorable union of country don't still understand about Ebola. With the what we know, out of selfishness, out of all these problems we don't expose. But Ebola remains a myth. I know says Guinea, up to now, most of them don't believe say Ebola really existed. Liberia, we will see them, then they go remove the patient and they pump them from hospital. Because the person they go to hospital and they will get Ebola. So the first question is how Ebola originated, whether it's Zaire or because I know say the Ebola in Zaire is different from here, you touch and small. We will know really how it happened. Then all what you don't tell me, the other countries, our other leaders in Australia, as we know, they never really tell me sincerely how we will get rid of all these problems. As within these few minutes, you don't tell me. Thank you, sir.
this Ebola, this pathogen, they cause it, and Nasuki they waka. That way they waka with the blocker. In other words, we'll not go touch if we don't be. They land quick. So the very big, when Ebola comes on side and they say they call government, say we don't see one person not die on camp. And we will not be far from that. We are not saying Tenema and Karon for a long time now, zero. I booked Tenema October last year, when Ebola don't help them. We really high in the salary. Now the first day we don't like 700 for a week. I go Tenema. One of the things we don't do in Tenema, I meet with the chief, I meet with the mayor. They organize neighborhood watch. The people that say begin watch at the neighborhood. Would have done that? And waiting for it. Suddenly all things, they mobilize the youth. What is my point? We for educate research and we for continue to do that now. Because you correct, some people still live in denial. Now Guinea, to the border side, na full career, some people still live in denial. Even Hussein come on a career. When they say no touch or they don't touch it. So we therefore do a lot of social mobilization still and education and awareness of what not to do. Because people don't learn small, but they need for learn more. Because not forget we Salomon again quick, we don't dismiss, we don't forget what it be yesterday also. So that education therefore continue. Both now all the three countries, more awareness, more vigilance, more surveillance. They get for continue.
This leadership, I have one for C. We handle the team fine as alone, or we not handle them fine. And I want to know if we keynote speaker get any invitation really to provide leadership. We will be a kind of alternative to the one we need right now. But for now, how is done politically, because I don't forget power, you get to belong to a political party. And I want to really know within the way forward in politics as far as keynote speaker.
In August, and they did it now full time, yeah, for go back, go help me country, everything we said online. So I did it. When I reach, I go around the country, I go do needs assessment, I go listen to the people there, what in they want, what in they think, what in they don't learn, what in they want them. And then we go put things together and you will see a declaration when I but me believe, now that me train. Now that make I say professionalism matters, yeah? They don't train me say when you go in a community, you do needs assessment, you listen to them. You will even listen if they want you. So me, I go do that first. Also, me a chief chicken. We, the chieftaincy will be known. Then they put you in a counter and the community and the family, they put you forward. Not to you, they push you self-timos. So for me, it's very clear, I go home. I take all the skills where I don't learn internationally for go help me people. Now education, now civil society. If the government wants me advice, I go give them back. Because that's how they do, even when they salon. Then don't tell me already they serve on advisory groups, and they still go to countries to advise me. If me young people they want to advise, they advise them also for free, if they want. You understand? Then we will see what happen after that. If the other thing they come up now, then we will see how we arrange that.
Yes. Utilize. I mean, we have government hospitals, but they're not run efficiently. And then we have the NGOs that sometimes provide medical facilities. But as you know, if we do not own the process ourselves, there's always the risk that there's no continuity. So if they're putting in $500 million, where is that money going to go? Where do you think is the best way that we utilize it? The second question deals with the commercial sector. If the price of iron ore continues to decline or remains stagnant, where do you see the recovery economically taking place in Sierra Leone, given that we still happen to be dependent on the mining sector in order to move forward? Those are my two questions.
The $500 million for the health sector, but they will raise a lot of money. There's a lot of goodwill and sympathy to deal with the Ebola issue in those three countries because it has become an international biosafety and biosecurity problem. So good money will come in. I have always believed in upgrading existing institutions. I'm a strong believer of that. So I believe some of those resources must go into upgrading existing medical establishments. Serious upgrading, quality upgrading. Second, of course, the government already has a plan for additional laboratories and surveillance centers across to decentralize some of the processes. Yeah? You remember we had this problem that you have to take a sample from one location, drive all the way to another. So there has to be some degree of decentralization of medical infrastructure. I give you an example. In Rwanda, Rwanda has the best vaccination rate in Africa for children. Every year, they try to clock up to 80–90% of the kids are vaccinated. Why? Because they have located the vaccines in certain locations already around the country. So when they say immunization week, the resources are already there. It's the same with this Ebola. We must have some degree of decentralization for testing, for surveillance, and of course, for quarantining and isolating people in case it comes back. So those capacities have to be built. But it begs the question, will we know who is giving that contract? Will we know the terms of reference? Will we know what they were supposed to deliver? Will we know value for money?
If the man say he build this particular structure, I give you a number, for $500,000, you want to check whether really na $500,000 structure they build, no, so. You understand what I'm saying? The projections are that iron ore prices will recover depending on how fast certain major economies grow. So it's very iffy. But the hope is that maybe by early next year you begin to see a recovery. This is why you will see in the other slide I showed, for 2015, 23% contraction, but by 16 positive. And by 17, we see major growth again. Because that is that assumption that by 2016, iron ore prices will pick up. But it raises an economic policy question. It is very vulnerable to depend on one commodity. Therefore, we must care that what are the revenues we get from minerals? We must care how we allocate that to diversify our economy. Because we know now, this year, dependence on one major commodity, you're vulnerable. Also, are we building up reserves? The other element of this is the following. Because the mining sector collapsed in Sierra Leone, we have the numbers. Many jobs were lost. 2 banks are in trouble. Because of the contracts they had with the mining industry, people borrowed money to provide services. Now they're in trouble. I'll be in Freetown, I'll be doing keynotes for the Chamber of Commerce. So these are questions next week. So these are the questions we're going to be addressing. I know the IFC, ADB as well, are putting monies together for support to the banks and the private sector to rebuild the SME. For them women. If you look the numbers for Salon, the people that will suffer the most are women. But who women they die? But also, the women then are they sell in the market not so. So when they quarantine, markets not open, and the women their business and for collapse. So again, you begin to see the vulnerability of women and children. So those are just some elements.
For the past 9 years in Ivory Coast, this is my first time to even come when they say there is a meeting, there is a president or whatsoever. I don't much have time. Because I have my own personal reasons. Our problem, we don't need all these things. We just need to be honest. Why we're honest, we are saved. That is all. You want to go to school, you're honest with your teacher and your family, you will succeed. Anything you want in the world, as long as you're honest, you're saved. Because of why? Last time I lost my wife in Freetown. When I went there, I'm coming back to Guinea. They said we cannot cross. There's no road. Okay, there's no road because of Ebola. Very good. But at the checkpoint, you see another car come. They have a paper, let's say passer. They let me go. So I asked the officer, I said, look, we talk about Ebola. He said, health matter. Now you want to tell me that that vehicle don't have Ebola? Because they have paper, let's say passer. So really, I'm happy today when you come and when I attend this particular meeting to know you and to know everybody and everybody to know me. My name is Mohammed Dakwa from Guinea.
If you can say, and Mohammed, if you see me, number one, they go change. That hospital and that medical facility, go get that money to go myself and go help them for take the hospital there. Because Kenema tried well. Kenema received more people for treating Ebola. So Kenema really show magnanimity for help that country. So my brother, don't give up a field. When you don't need cancer for the country.
When I go to holiday, that's at the moment for say, for Western area, what you can spend. Put statistics together. I go like the way you go home, I really hope say, then they on the internet and visible for we separate outside for able to get information. Because who is actually something that don't separate that limits to us.
We civil society groups and we want a transparent reporting system now. Let the finance minister post who that they get waiting for USAT. Now easy thing for me. Because why? We don't justify all that money that the document will get with money. Now for just take the same page put on the internet. So all man will say, okay, for Kenema we ask for this, for Kandeh for this, for Pujauna this, first one. So even now you can begin to demand that information. My hope is some of we where they go back as citizens. We begin put the information there together with civil society, make the all man know. Now the accountability they begin. If you don't know what it is, you're right.
Ebola developed in Sierra Leone. And after that, I see like they said if we get idea. The second idea we have one appeal. We break that barrier of tribalism. We come to one person because we come from one mama belly. That's not Sierra Leone, but that's Sierra Leone. So whether you go America, you go London, you get degree over and over. When you die, they say Sierra Leone. So and they asked me, that's not your suggestion, not a post, not your idea. We pray that tribalism business. We'll not get to me, we'll not get it, we'll not get any other person but Sierra Leoneans. But my question is, I want to know how this Ebola can as Sierra Leone. Me, I want to know. So I will be free.
لا إله إلا هو الحي الحكيم آمن رسول الله إليه من ربه والمؤمنين كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله قالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين فانصرنا على القوم المنافقين فانصرنا على القوم الجاهلين ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه ما يشاء يؤتي عند الآية وصل الآية على كل سورة ثم قال فإذا كان أمره فإنما يقول فيكون لا بيني أسألك أن تسكن واسع حرمة المصطفى يا الله يا الله يا الله يا سمن يا فاطر يا ورد يا وهاب يا عجيب يا وقات وأكد يا كريم يا رزاق يا فتى إنا آتيناك سجلت والنسان فقول ابتر يا الله يا الله نبي الموسى يا الله يا الله يا الله يجد خيرا عند الله وعند الملائكة وعند الحي حرمة النبي المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله تعالى وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا وسلموا تسليما صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون صلاة والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين